Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Halloween podcast. I am your host, Lyle Perez. Today is Halloween. Yes, guys, it is the big day. The kids are going to go out trick-or-treating later on tonight. Hopefully, if this rain doesn't start before then, my daughter's dressed as Wednesday, my boy's a killer, and my oldest daughter, I don't know what she is, but she's something. I posted a few weeks back on Facebook as to what Halloween show you guys wanted me to do next, and it was an overwhelming response that you guys wanted me to talk about Halloween in the 1960s. All right, let me get the time machine ready. Here we go. All right, we're here, guys, the 1960s. I hope everybody made it okay. Today, we're stepping back in time to an era that shaped much of what we know about Halloween today, the 1960s. It was a decade of transformation, excitement, and growth for Halloween. Costumes, candies, parties, and neighborhood trick-or-treating became hallmarks of the holiday, and Halloween quickly evolved into a family-centered celebration. So grab your candy bowls and let's set the clocks back to the grooviest of spookiest decade, the 1960s. Halloween in the 1960s was a time when this spooky holiday really took root in America's suburban neighborhoods. By this decade, trick-or-treating was a national phenomenon. As suburban development boomed, more neighborhoods formed, creating safe and tight-knit communities where children could wander door to door with little worry. Parents felt at ease letting their kids run wild for a night, and the streets were filled with the sound of kids in costumes shouting trick or treat. One of the most defining moments of Halloween in the 1960s came in 1966, with the first airing of It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. This Peanut special became an instant classic, and Linus' quest for the Great Pumpkin struck a chord with viewers of all ages. It's the Great Pumpkin was more than just a TV special. It captured the playful, whimsical spirit of Halloween while celebrating the innocence of childhood. It also inspired a trend of Peanuts-themed Halloween costumes and decorations that would stick around for many years. Halloween at this time was all about the community. Many neighborhoods held block parties, costume parades, and even small haunted house setups in basements and community centers. And let's not forget the joy of comparing candy hauls with friends at the end of the night, an essential ritual in every kid's Halloween experience. Gosh, I remember those days, but for me, it was in the 90s. When it came to costumes, the 1960s were all about simplicity, imagination, and affordability. For many kids, homemade costumes were the go-to choice. Old bed sheets turned into ghost costumes, worn-out suits morphed into zombie attire, and mom's old shawls became the perfect witches' capes. It was an era where creativity reigned, and homemade costumes were often a source of pride. For those who could afford store-bought costumes, Ben Cooper Inc. dominated the Halloween costume market. Ben Cooper costumes were simple yet iconic, often consisting of lightweight plastic masks and a thin vinyl outfit with the character's image printed on the front. You'd see kids dressed as Spider-Man, Frankenstein's monster, Casper the Friendly Ghost, and thanks to the popularity of the Batman TV series in the 1960s, you would see a lot of Batmans out there.
Make Halloween fun with one-stop shopping at Woolworth or Woolco for your Halloween needs. Costumes from $1.83 to $3.99, like $6 Million Man, Bionic Woman, superheroes, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, and a new favorite for girls, Holly Hobbie. You can get wrapped candies of every kind, bubblegum, lollipops, fun-size candy bars. Get this Halloween record, sounds to make you shiver, just $1.89. Make Halloween fun and easy. Make just one stop at Woolworth or Woolco.
These costumes weren't exactly comfortable, but there was something exciting about the plastic smell and the tight rubber band that held the mask in place. The cheap masks may have made it hard to see or breathe, but for a generation of kids, these masks were magic. Traditional scary costumes also held their own. Witches, skeletons, vampires, and ghosts remained popular. And with few prepackaged options, each costume often had its own twist. The result was a Halloween parade that was part scary, part quirky, and entirely unique. Trick-or-treating in the 1960s was a full-throttle candy hunt, with streets filled with kids carrying pillowcases and bags, hoping to collect the biggest hauls of the night. Candy corn, dum-dums, Tootsie Rolls, and candy cigarettes were just some of the sweets handed out. And let's not forget the thrill of discovering a house that handed out full-sized Hershey bars, or rolls of Lifesavers. True treasures in a sea of mini candies. This was also the era where individually wrapped candies gained traction. The occasional tampered candy scare led parents to be more cautious, and companies responded by pushing factory-sealed treats as the safer choice. While fun-sized candies wouldn't become popular until the 1970s, the 1960s laid down the groundwork, and parents began to prefer wrapped candy over homemade treats. Neighborhood trick-or-treating became a community event where families would sit out on their porches, greeting kids and handing out candy. It was a night where you could step into another world, see your friends dressed up as monsters and heroes, and feel part of something magical.
When that irresistible urge strikes, that urge for a candy bar, have an Almond Joy.
Don't fight the feeling for an Almond Joy bar. Life's more appealing with an Almond Joy bar. Real milk chocolate sauce, that almond tender coconut, too beautiful Almond Joys for you.
Go ahead, follow that irresistible urge to an indescribably delicious Peter Paul Almond Joy. And when you get the urge for something really crunchy,
Don't fight it, surrender to a Peter Paul almond cluster. Crunchy, crackly, chocolatey almond clusters, nice and nutty.
indescribably delicious.
All right, guys, I'm trying to record this before the storm comes in, but it's coming. You can probably hear it. I'm going to keep going because I think it adds to the spookiness of Halloween. Halloween advertising was just beginning to boom in the 1960s, especially as candy companies started realizing the potential of a holiday that centered around treats. Before this, candy wasn't the main focus of Halloween. Apples, popcorn balls, and homemade goodies were just as common, but things changed as the decade progressed. Big brands like Mars, Hershey's, and Ferrera began releasing special Halloween ads to encourage parents to stock up on treats for trick-or-treaters. And the shift towards individually wrapped candies began. Each year, ads got a little more colorful and a little more spookier. Candy companies started using slogans like "Only treats, no tricks" to make their product feel essential for Halloween. Some brands even experimented with limited edition candy for the season, featuring scary shapes or Halloween-themed packaging, like Hershey's mini chocolate bars with pumpkin illustrations, or Bratch's introducing Halloween-colored candy corn. This era also saw the rise of iconic candies, with treats like Sweet Tarts, Starbursts, and Lemonheads becoming popular by the end of the decade. These candies added new flavors and textures to what went beyond the classic chocolate and hard candies. And trick-or-treat bags were never the same. The haunted house concept as we know it today began to take root in the 1960s. JC's, a civic organization that encouraged community service and special engagements, organized one of the first large-scale haunted houses as a fundraiser event in 1964. They set up mazes, used eerie soundtracks, and even had volunteers dressed as classic monsters. These haunted houses were cheap to create, but they packed a punch in terms of scares. Haunted houses became a creative way to celebrate Halloween on a larger scale. As more communities got involved, haunted houses started to incorporate spooky rooms with names like the Chamber of Horrors and the Witch's Den. These rooms might include simple props like cotton spiderwebs, black light paint, and eerie sound effects. Actors dressed as mummies, vampires, and ghosts would hide behind corners, jumping out to give visitors a good scare. Schools, churches, and local organizations quickly caught on, setting up their own family-friendly Halloween haunts. They offered a way to experience a bit of fright without the danger of actual haunted places. But the late 60s haunted houses had become a nationwide trend, paving the way for the highly elaborate attractions we see today.
Oh, here comes that singing bear again to steal my post-sugar crisp cereal. I'll change my house into a haunted house and scare him away forever.
Granny! Ah, haunted house. Here you are, Lancelot. Hey, Spook, come back with that post-sugar crisp cereal.
Sugar bear, the sugar crisp is in the grandfather's claw.
Thanks, Spook, whoever you are. Easy, Bat Boy, I got very little flying experience. Ah, safe landing. Granny, fancy meeting you here. I'll take that. Sugar crisp, honey of a snack, honey-flavored wheat that's sugary sweet. Oh, I can't get enough of that sugar crisp, sugar
You've got
crisp,
a nice
sugar
singing
crisp.
voice, Sugar. You can get sugar crisp in post 10s, too.
Post cereals make breakfast a little bit better.
Television was a massive influence on Halloween costumes and decorations in the 1960s. Shows like The Addams Family and The Munsters made the macabre feel playful, inspiring costumes that blend humor with a touch of the eerie. Kids loved dressing up as characters like Herman Munster or Cousin It, and these shows popularized a more light-hearted approach to the supernatural. Meanwhile, The Twilight Zone and Dark Shadows fed a darker fascination with the supernatural. The Twilight Zone often aired during Halloween season, and its eerie, outwardly stories encouraged viewers to embrace the strange and the mysterious. This influence bled into Halloween costumes and decor, inspiring people to create spooky, minimalist decorations. Cardboard cutouts of black cats, witches, and skeletons became the go-to, often purchased from companies like Bastel, which specialized in Halloween decorations with a vintage, cartoonish charm. For costumes, classic monsters were joined by characters from The Twilight Zone and Dark Shadows. People even dressed up as TV personalities like Rod Serling, the host of The Twilight Zone, adding a twist of sophistication to their spooky attire. In homes, you'd find decorations featuring witches on broomsticks, grinning pumpkins, and black cats with arched backs, all contributing to the spooky yet friendly Halloween atmosphere. Halloween night in the 1960s wasn't complete without a horror movie marathon on TV. Local channels would host late-night screenings of old horror movies, from the classics like Dracula, which was released in 1931, and Frankenstein, another one released in 1931, to B-movies like Plan 9 from Outer Space. these horror marathons became a Halloween staple, especially for teens and adults looking for a few late-night thrills. Many of these Halloween broadcasts featured a host, often in full costume, who would introduce each movie with a spooky flair. These hosts became local icons. Cities like Los Angeles had personalities like Vampira and later Elvira, who brought a campy, glamorous touch to their horror hosting. And if you want to learn a little bit more about all of the wonderful horror hosts that have been throughout the years, check out episode 72 of the Halloween podcast. In smaller towns, local stations got creative, having hosts dress up like ghoulish characters to present Halloween specials, complete with cheesy sound effects and low-budget set designs. Of course, it's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown, released in 1966, was the highlight of Halloween programming. The special captured the essence of Halloween and brought in elements of both innocence and magic, making it a must-watch for families. TV networks soon caught on to the rating potential of Halloween specials, setting the stage for more holiday-themed programming in the years to come. In the 1960s, Halloween was still a night touched by mystery and superstition. Families passed down beliefs like the idea that Halloween night was when the spirits of the dead would wander freely, and if you didn't want to be haunted, you'd better have a candle burning on your porch, or leave a little tree out to keep the spirits happy. In some communities, people believed that if you saw a spider on Halloween night, it meant a deceased loved one was watching over you. Some religions had their own unique legends, especially in rural areas where ghost stories were a big part of the Halloween season. Tales of haunted houses, vanishing hitchhikers, and mysterious creatures lurking in the woods circulated among children and teens. Storytelling added a spooky thrill to the night, and kids would gather to share these stories, building an air of suspense and excitement that could only be matched by the eerie feeling of Halloween night. For adults, superstitions around Halloween sometimes influence how they decorated or celebrated. Some would avoid using mirrors in Halloween games, fearing that they could accidentally summon spirits. And then there were those who left out extra treats, just in case any ghosts were wandering around. It was a mix of old-world superstition with new, playful tradition, creating a holiday that honored the mystical side of Halloween. Though Halloween was primarily for kids, adults were starting to join in on the fun in the 1960s. Themed Halloween parties became popular, with many adults dressing up as classic movie characters or adopting mob-style costumes that reflected the trend of the decade. Think glamorous witches in black satin dresses, or vampires with capes and sleek, dark outfits inspired by Hollywood's portrayal of Dracula. Many clubs and community centers hosted Halloween parties, where costume contests and themed cocktails were the norm. Punch bowls with dry ice for that spooky, foggy effect. Halloween-themed hors d'oeuvres, and plenty of dancing gave adults a way to celebrate Halloween in style. While children roamed the streets, parents would enjoy their own spooky night out, complete with contests for the best costumes and prizes for the most creative, eerie decor. Fundraising events also embraced Halloween parties. Organizations hosted masquerade balls where people wore elegant, mysterious masks and costumes. These gatherings served as both social events and a way to get the community involved in the spirit of Halloween, ensuring that the holiday was for everyone, not just the little ones. Halloween parties wouldn't be complete without the soundtrack of the season, and in 1962, Monster Mash by Bobby Boris Pickett hit the airways, instantly becoming the go-to Halloween anthem. With its catchy beat and playful lyrics, Monster Mash set the tone for Halloween parties across the country. People loved dancing to the song, and you could find it playing at nearly every Halloween party. Other songs joined the Halloween playlist over the years, such as Screamin' Jay Hawkins' I Put a Spell on You, which added a soulful, spooky vibe to parties. These tunes helped make Halloween more festive and lively, with families and friends dancing the night away. Some parties even featured scary song contests, where partygoers would try to outscare each other with their own spooky creation. Dance parties were popular, with many dressed in costume moving to the sounds of Halloween classics, and often creating makeshift dance floors in basements or community centers. Games like bobbing for apples, sack races, and scavenger hunts kept the energy going. Halloween parties were less about fear and more about fun, creating memories that would last for years. Halloween in the 1960s wasn't just celebrated in neighborhoods and haunted houses. It also made its way onto the TV screens. While dedicated Halloween episodes were rare, some classic shows from the era tapped into the season's spooky fun with ghostly themes, magical mischief, and haunted hijinks. Let's take a look at a few iconic episodes that brought a Halloween vibe to living rooms across America. The Addams Family delighted audiences with natural love of all things eerie, and in Halloween with the Addams Family, which was in Season 1, Episode 7, which aired just before Halloween on October 30th, 1964, they celebrated the holiday in true Addams Family fashion. As trick-or-treaters approached the spooky Addams mansion, the family eagerly welcomed them, even as they scared off two robbers who foolishly chose the Addams house as a target. This episode shows the Addams Family embracing Halloween as the season to be truly, delightfully themselves. Over on Bewitched, Samantha Stevens was redefining what it meant to be a witch in suburbia. The episode The Witches Are Out, Season 1, Episode 7, aired on October 29, 1964, and featured Samantha tackling stereotypes about witches after a Halloween ad campaign depicted them as frightening hags. In the following season's Halloween episode, Trick or Treat, Endora transforms Darren into a werewolf where he says something unkind, adding a clash of Halloween-style humor and showing viewers that even adults could have a little magical mischief during Halloween. The Munsters brought Halloween vibes into their show year-round, much like the Halloween podcast. But one episode that stands out is Munster Masquerade, which was the series' premiere episode. Though it aired late in September 1964, it had all the trappings of a Halloween episode, as the Munsters attended a masquerade party, where everyone thinks they're simply wearing elaborate costumes. This episode brings in the Halloween spirit of disguise and mistaken identity, making it an evergreen spooky episode to watch. For fans of adventure and comedy, Gilligan's Island added a ghostly twist with Ghost A Go-Go, Season 2, Episode 6, which aired on October 28, 1965. The castaways believe their island is haunted after strange lights and noises disturb them in the night. The episode keeps viewers on edge as the characters search for the ghost, capturing a haunted house vibe as they uncover the mystery. Even animated shows got in on the Halloween fun. In The Flintstones, A Haunted House Is Not a Home, Season 5, Episode 15, which aired on January 1st, 1965, sees Fred and Barney spending a night in a spooky mansion to claim Fred's inheritance. With ghostly encounters and strange happenings around every corner, the episode plays on classic haunted house tropes and reminds us of the thrill of facing the unknown. And then there was My Favorite Martian, bringing an extraterrestrial twist to the 1960s. In The Green-Eyed Martian, Season 1, Episode 6, airing on October 27, 1963, Uncle Martin's jealousy and mischief play out like a Halloween trick, creating mix-up that fit well with a light-hearted spooky vibe. The alien element adds a supernatural flair, making it a fun choice for the Halloween season. These shows may not have had Halloween specials in the modern sense, but they certainly captured the spirit of the season. From witches and werewolves to haunted houses and ghostly island adventures, the 1960s TV offered viewers a playful glimpse into the supernatural. These episodes remind us that Halloween has always been a celebration of the mysterious and the magical, and also the mischievous. No Halloween in the 1960s would be complete without some spooky laughs. And while the Andy Griffith Show wasn't exactly known for its ghostly themes, there's one episode that fits right in with the Halloween season. In Season 4, Episode 2, titled The Haunted House, Andy and Barney take us on a comical adventure that plays on haunted house tropes in a way only they can. This is probably one of my favorite episodes from all the little ones I talked about. This Andy Griffith Show was my favorite. The episode starts with Opie and his friend Arnold accidentally hitting a baseball into the old Renshaw house. The Renshaw house has a reputation around town as a haunted place where strange things happen. Opie and Arnold are too scared to retrieve the ball, so they run to tell Andy and Barney about it. When the boys refuse to go near the place, Barney decides it's his duty to retrieve the ball and prove there's nothing to fear. As Barney, Andy, and Gomer set out to enter the house, they encounter a series of strange sights and sounds that play into every haunted house cliche: eerie creaking doors, ghostly shadows, and unexplained noises. The humor in this episode is classic Andy Griffith, with Barney trying to maintain his tough guy image, all while visibly shaken with fear. Every time a door creaks or something falls, Barney jumps, bringing out both laughter and suspense. I love Don Knotts. He was a wonderful comedic actor. I can't wait till I can talk about him in the 1970s when he was on Three's Company. Mr. Furley was classic. But I think he was more or less in the 80s, because I think in 79 is when he joined the cast of Three's Company. But I don't know. I'll do the research later. Maybe I can tie him in somehow in the 1970s show. Or maybe just wait until the 1980s show. I don't know. The haunted house episode doesn't rely on actual supernatural elements, but rather on the characters' reaction to what they think they're experiencing. This gives the episode a charming, lighthearted feel that's perfect for Halloween viewing. It taps into the spooky fun of a haunted house without actually going too dark. Just a good old-fashioned scare for the residents of Mayberry. The episode captures the essence of small-town folklore and the thrill of ghost stories, all wrapped up in the warmth and humor of the Andy Griffith Show. It's the kind of Halloween treat that brings a bit of nostalgia, reminding us that sometimes it's our imagination that are the scariest things of all. To wrap things up, let's take a moment to compare Halloween in the 1960s to Halloween today. It's fascinating to see how this holiday has transformed over the decades, adapting to new trends and technologies while keeping the core traditions alive. Back in the 1960s, Halloween had a simplicity that's hard to find today. Costumes were often homemade or purchased as simple vinyl sets with plastic masks from companies like Ben Cooper. Today, costumes are elaborate, professionally designed, and often inspired by the latest movie character or pop culture icons. In fact, adults have joined the costume craze in a big way, with high-end costumes becoming a huge part of modern Halloween celebrations. You'll find everything from hyper-realistic zombie makeup to intricate princess gowns, blurring the lines between Halloween and just simple cosplay. Trick-or-treating has also evolved. In the 1960s, kids roamed neighborhoods freely, usually without much adult supervision. Parents trusted their communities, and children knew every house they visited. Today, safety concerns mean that many parents closely accompany their children, and trick-or-treating is often limited to well-lit neighborhoods, or even organized trunk-or-treat events at schools and churches. And let's not forget that candy selection has exploded. While kids in the 1960s mostly got candy corn, Tootsie Rolls, and chocolate bars, kids today have their pick of everything from sour gummies to exotic chocolates. Fun-sized candies have taken over, and some households even hand out full-size bars as a special treat. The haunted house experience has gone from community-organized events in school basements to elaborate professional haunted attractions with actors, high-tech effects, and well-designed sets. Haunted houses have become a booming business, and some people plan their entire Halloween season around visiting these attractions. There are even extreme haunts. Now that takes things to a whole new level, pushing the boundaries of fear in ways unimaginable in the 1960s. And then there's Halloween media. In the 1960s, it's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and some of the other sitcoms that I talked about was the highlight of Halloween programming. Today, we have entire streaming playlists dedicated to Halloween, from family-friendly favorites like Hocus Pocus to horror classics like Halloween and Friday the 13th. Halloween has become a whole season of entertainment, with streaming services releasing Halloween specials and horror movies each October. Yet, from all of these changes, some things remain the same. The thrill of dressing up, the joy of collecting candy, and the fun of scaring ourselves just a little. These traditions have stood the test of time. Halloween still brings communities together, even if we celebrate in slightly different ways. The holiday continues to evolve as each new generation adds its new twist to the spooky season. So whether you're celebrating Halloween with a plastic mask and a vinyl costume, or a costume made from cosplaying, the heart of the holiday remains the same. A time for fun, for frights, and for a little bit of Halloween magic. And as you take your kids out trick-or-treating tonight, just remember that Halloween magic is alive in them today. And that's it for our Halloween special. Thanks for tuning in to learn about Halloween in the 1960s. We sure have come a long way since then. I hope you enjoyed this nostalgic dive into the past and got a fresh perspective on how we celebrate Halloween today. Whether you're going old school this year or embracing the latest Halloween trends, keep the Halloween spirit alive. I just want to take a moment right now to thank everyone for all of the good vibes that I've gotten this past Halloween season. I know today is Halloween, so we've pretty much come to an end for the season, but not here on the Halloween podcast. As you know, we continue all year round. So whenever you need a little bit of a Halloween pick-me-up, just remember that the Halloween podcast is here and ready for your ears. If this is your first time listening to the Halloween podcast, or if you've listened to a few episodes already and you still haven't hit that subscribe button, please do so right now. It only takes a second. And while you're there subscribing, why don't you go ahead and leave us a 5-star review on either Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're getting your podcasts from. If you have any questions, comments, or want to suggest anything for a future show, send me an email, thehalloweenpodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to go like our Facebook page at facebook.com/thehalloweenpodcast. If you'd like to support the show, head on over to our website, thehalloweenpodcast.com. We got a lot of cool merch up there. Feel free to order some stickers, some postcards. All proceeds go to help the Halloween podcast. All right, guys. Well, the Halloween season is officially over. Thank you guys so much. And until next week, I will see you later. Have a good night.